Okay, let's talk about thrifting. Secondhand shopping, whatever you want to call it, it is absolutely everywhere right now. And on the surface, it feels like the perfect deal, right? You get cool, unique clothes, you save some money, and you help the planet. But is that really the whole picture? Let's dig in.
I mean, our love for thrifting is just exploding. There's no other way to put it. But behind all the vintage finds and those amazing bargain prices, there's a really serious question we've got to ask. Is this trend actually as sustainable as we all think it is, or are we just buying into a different kind of marketing hype? So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the sheer scale of the secondhand boom. Then we'll cover the sustainability promise, the ideal scenario. After that, we'll dive into 2 case studies, comparing the US and UK models. And finally, we'll try to reach a verdict and talk about what our role is in all of this.
All right, first up, let's dive into the secondhand boom. Because, before we can even get to the sustainability part, we have to appreciate just how huge this whole thing has gotten. And wow, this number really puts it into perspective. The secondhand market isn't just growing a little bit, it's expanding more than twice as fast as regular mainstream retail. Yeah, this isn't just some niche hobby for a few people anymore. We're talking about a major economic force.
So what's driving all this? Well, it's way more than just finding a cheap shirt. For so many people, thrifting is a statement. It's a way to say no to fast fashion, a chance to show off your unique style. And it feels like you're making a smarter, more thoughtful choice. It really hits that sweet spot, tapping into our desire for both great value and living by our values.
Okay, so let's get to the heart of why thrifting feels so good. The sustainability promise. This is the ideal, the perfect world journey of a piece of clothing in what people call a circular economy. On paper, the idea is it's beautiful, it's simple. A garment gets worn and loved, then when you're done with it, instead of just tossing it, you donate it. It gets resold to someone new who gives it a whole new life. This keeps clothes in the loop and out of the landfill. That's the dream, right? But the real question is, does reality actually match up with this perfect circle?
Well, to figure that out, let's jump into our first case study. We're heading to the USA, where thrifting isn't just a cute trend, it is big business.
So in the US, what you see is a market that's really dominated by these massive for-profit corporate chains. I mean, think giant industrial-scale warehouses full of clothes. Donations aren't just coming from down the street. They're getting sorted and shipped all across the country by logistics experts. And at the end of the day, their main goal, just like any big corporation, is all about revenue and profit.
Okay, now let's hop across the pond and look at a totally different approach. Our second case study is the UK model, which is built on a really different idea, the charity shop. Anyone who's been to the UK knows their high streets are packed with what they call charity shops. And these are almost all nonprofits. They work on a much smaller community level. Their primary goal isn't making money for shareholders, it's raising funds for a specific cause, like cancer research or an animal shelter. The connection there is so much more direct and personal. And this is where it gets super interesting, looking at them side by side. So you've got the primary goal, right? In the US, it's profit. In the UK, it's fundraising for a cause. Huge difference. Then there's the scale, massive and national versus small and local. The focus is completely different too, market growth versus a social mission. So you see, these aren't just tiny little differences. We're talking about 2 fundamentally different philosophies for what secondhand should be.
Okay, so we've seen these 2 very different models. Now we can finally get back to our big question and try to land on a verdict about sustainability. And as you've probably guessed by now, the answer, it's complicated.
Right, so it is not a simple, yes, it's sustainable, or no, it's not. There's no doubt that a huge piece of this pie is the positive impact. Keeping clothes out of landfills, that is undeniably a good thing. But then there's this big risk of greenwashing. That's when marketing makes something seem way more eco-friendly than it is, usually to get you to buy more stuff. And finally, a really important piece is our own responsibility as consumers.
And this really gets to the core of the issue. We have to separate the practice from the marketing. The actual act of buying one secondhand shirt and wearing it for years, absolutely, 100% sustainable. But then you have this social media trend of massive thrift hauls, right? Buying piles and piles of cheap clothes just for a video. That can actually fuel the exact same throwaway mindset that we're trying to get away from with fast fashion. Which brings us to our last and honestly most important point. We need to rethink our own role in all of this. It goes way beyond just the store you walk into.
I love this quote from Ursula de Castro, a total leader in the sustainable fashion movement. It says everything.
The most sustainable garment is the one already in your closet. At the end of the day, the goal isn't just about buying better things, it's about buying less. Because true sustainability, it starts with loving, fixing, and actually wearing the clothes that are already hanging in your closet.
And really, that's the big takeaway here. Look, thrifting is an amazing, powerful tool for fighting fashion waste. It really is. But it's not some magic bullet, right? It's not a perfect solution that lets us off the hook for our habits. The real change we need is a shift in our mindset, from just being a conscious shopper to being a conscious consumer. And that means thinking about the whole life of our clothes, from start to finish.
So that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If buying secondhand is a really important piece of the puzzle, but it's not the whole answer, then what's next for our wardrobes? How do we really build that sustainable relationship with the stuff we wear every single day? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me for this one.